Domestic revenue increased to 27.7 the financial year 2020 to 2021, constraining the fiscal space. Richard Newfarmer advised Uganda to put more emphasis on mitigating climate changes that are causing floods and drought, hence resulting in food inflation.
Have to increase its global market share and therefore increase its productivity faster than its competitors. This is possible because I know Uganda well, and I expect that Ugandan producers are going to move forward on this. Second thing is, in order to finance public investment, Uganda is going to have to mobilize more tax revenue. Tax revenues.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Minister of Economic Recovery, with the support of private sectors to turn the country into a money economy.
Economic growth was affected by supply side costs.
This is our PSST from the Minister of Finance speaking the growth of this country and on the road how we're going to get to the middle income status. Getting away from that, let's get to another story here and see how we are going to fight inflation. Inflation has become inflation in this country, Uganda, and our Premier, that's the Right Honorable Minister Nabanja, said that the country is doing well and it's doing better to see that inflation is curbed and put aside so that we have the country growth at the peak. So let's have more of this report.
By the closing of the 6th Economic Growth Forum, several issues were considered for the development of the country. Right Honorable Robin Nabanja views that the country is at risk due to too much borrowing, which has led to the rise of Uganda's debt of $73.4 billion US.
We are getting out of the worst effects of the pandemic. We faced some other risks. Inflation has been on the rise, largely because most global economies continue to lift all restrictions related to the pandemic. Like I told you in Parliament, this led to more demand of materials than their supply. And this has been made worse by the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has affected the supplies of key raw materials for our industries, such as those producing cooking oil, fuel, and soap. We have also recently been faced with a number of other natural disasters, such as floods. You know what happened in Mbale, droughts, and other climate change-related hazards. With these kind of risks, achieving our growth potential is at risk that requires each and everyone's input.
In addition to that, as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, the Prime Minister says there is need to mobilize more domestic revenue to spur economic recovery.
Climate change, which is one of the major challenges we face now. 2, enhancing domestic resource mobilization, like the Minister said, so that we reduce on our dependency of borrowing.
Stephen Asimwe, Executive Director of Private Sector Foundation Uganda, says that to spur economic recovery, there is need to have engagements on how to add value to our exports and increase capacity on the local content.
Dialogue to discuss the necessary inputs they want in the budget. And I think in the last 2 years, I must give you credit, that we have had these engagements on a constant basis.
According to the projected central bank rate, in the next 10 years, inflation will remain in the range of 6.0 to 7%, which could be the solutions. Ugandans are encouraged to spend wisely so that they can manage the little money they have.
If we are having all these leaders, like they said, the PSST, and the Honorable Minister, or the Prime Minister, or any other leader talking about the growth of this country, I think it's a way to go. And if we see how we can fight against inflation and seeing how best we can get to the middle income status, it's the best way to go. Let's get to another story here where we're going to discuss the insurance sector in Uganda, where they're saying it's growing to a certain level. Our reporter was there discussing with some of the people who are dealing in the insurance sector, and she has the report from there. Naomi Mutumba has more. Let's listen to her.
According to a report by the Insurance Regulatory Authority, over 17 banks have been registered to offer this service in Uganda since October 2017, which has led to increased awareness among Ugandans, as Francis Kamau, the CEO of GA Insurance, explains.
It's a new mode of delivery of insurance in this part of the world, but in the wider developed world, even as close as South Africa, it's been there for many years. So banks are in constant touch with their clients. And in markets that allow bank assurance, it means then the bank has been regulated to write or to canvass insurance business on behalf of insurance companies.
Developing products that match client needs. So you may find I'm saving with a bank. I have a home, but my home is not insured. Anytime a fire happens, I start from zero. So if a bank comes up with a very interesting product that can cover my home, then it is a very good value addition to me who is saving with the bank, because I will know my property is safe. I've saved money with the bank. The bank has provided me some protection for my property. So it is a good initiative.
Uganda's insurance industry hit the trillion ceiling in 2020, having raised 1.6 trillion in gross written premiums despite the pandemic. However, the performance of the insurance sector remains positive.
In Uganda are performing very well. We are performing very well. After the lockdown, we have seen an increased uptake of insurance products and services. A good example is the industry at half year has grown about 22%. So that means in 2022, on 30th of June, we have written 20% more business, more premium than we wrote same period last year. And this is a good prospect because it's driven by two major products. One is medical insurance, which is growing very well, and life insurance. In other words, this, when we analyze it, it gives us the indication that people are beginning to value insurance products that relates to their lives. Yeah,
a quite number of brokers. We have agents, and if you look at the gross written premium every year is growing and growing, meaning it is at least a serious performance and growth in the industry.
According to statistics, the gross premiums from Insurance Regulatory Authority have continued to grow, rising from 26 billion in 2018 to 83.3 billion in 2020, representing a 220.3% cumulative growth over the period. In 2020, premiums underwritten through bank insurance channel accounted for 7.83% of the 2020 total underwritten premiums, compared to 5.5% in 2019.
So that has been the insurance sector, and every time they are advising Ugandans to make sure that they insure their life. You see, life matters so much. So if the insurance sector is being put aside and maybe put a lot of emphasis on it, we can have the insurance sector enhanced and people can continue to insure their life. Let's get to another story here where we're going to discuss the border operations in Kampala, where they're saying the census has been extended up to September 16th. So all these programs are being done to make sure that the border sector is being enhanced, and at least we start earning a little of the tax from the sector. Let's have more of this story from our reporter.
The exercise, which started on August 15th across 10 designated census centers around the city, had earlier been scheduled to end on August 30th, but KCCA has been forced to prolong the registration after witnessing fewer riders who turned up in the past 2 weeks.
We've been driven to announce an extension of 16 days in order to ensure that we can record or register every border rider so that we don't leave out anyone. Of course, has been due to the late recognition by the riders and border owners that KCCA is very serious regarding the issue of reorganizing transport, border transport in the city.
Kampala is estimated to have 200,000 motorists, but KCCA claims that not even a quarter have been registered due to different challenges like documents.
So far, entered into our system 20,000 motorcycles, and on average, we are entering between 2,500 to 3,000 per day.
KCCA pleads to all riders to utilize the extended grace period to avoid future inconveniences. However, they continue and say registration in this extended period will be done at the division headquarters of the 5 divisions, since some of the registration centers are schools and yet schools are to open on Monday.
Shifting of registration centers has been necessitated by the fact that schools are going to open. The schools are going to open, so up until Friday, that is tomorrow, the centers are going to be open. But next week, then they will shift to the division offices, where the registration will go on up to the deadline of 16th of September.
KCCA still maintains that the registration is to plan, regulate, and organize the border transport sector and order in the city.
So border sectors, it's a one way to make sure that this sector is enhanced and put to a certain level. See, border riders have been subjected to very many criminal things putting to them, but I see all these steps, if they are put together, then they will enhance the border sector and put it to a certain level. Let's get to another story here where the National Unity Platform mayor had run to LOP, this is the leaders of opposition, Matthias Simpuga. They went there and told him that most of the problems they are facing is that the taxes they are collecting at the local government level are not getting into them. So sometimes they find it as the big problems that they collect tax at the local level ground, the money comes to the central government, and sometimes the money doesn't go back and do the development at the local level. Let's see what this story means to us, and our reporter has the details. Kalema Ronald has expressed his dissatisfaction with the way government is handling tax collection at the town council level, since the law stipulates that government leaders are in charge of collecting the tax, but the whole process has been taken up by the Uganda Revenue Authority.
And what has brought us here to the leader of opposition is to petition the way central government has crippled down local governments. They introduced a policy in 2020-2021 financial year where all the revenues that we collect, that we used to spend at source, they take them to the consolidated fund in the Ministry of Finance. And they had given that they will bring them before so that we can do our work, and for us we keep on collecting and send to them. They only did that for only 2 quarters, and the rest of the quarters they have not done it. So they kept on crippling our work. For example, you collect around 500 millions, then they send about 200. And now the work that you had budgeted for within the 500 millions cannot be completed. And it also brings a delay in the work. If I had planned to grade a road in this quarter and you don't give me that money, it means I'm going to push it in another quarter. But remember, even in another quarter, there are other activities to be done.
The mayors have also indicated it to the leader of opposition that they get salary of 380,000 shillings minus taxes, which cannot sustain them in the inflated economy.
This has also increased the rates of corruption within the technicals. Because when they go in the field, they know that when we deposit this money and it goes, our allowances are going to delay. So they begin soliciting money from within the society in a way, and that cripples the work. So that's the reason why we have come here. And you've also had my colleagues have added on, of course, the little pay they give us. But I cannot expect someone who does not even bring what does not belong to him to pay me highly. So we have so many challenges.
That if it is not implemented, we are planning a demonstration which is not going to be peaceful before the end of next month. So we want the government to leave us with our money. We collect the money, we spend it. As we collect it, we want to spend it.
According to the mayors, Uganda Revenue Authority comes up with all sorts of taxes which are not known to the local people, such as rental tax, without even explaining it properly to the people. Hence, the conflict between Uganda Revenue Authority officials and the taxpayers.
We have property tax, which is clearly stipulated on how we should levy it. Then they also come with their rental tax, which they don't even tell us how they should get it. They can only tell you that if a building earns 4.6 million plus, there we begin levying rental. And we've always been telling them, come, we explain the society. They don't want to. So they only go to look for theirs, and they beat ours. When you go to a shop, for us we give operational license, which is given every year to allow you to operate within a town council. For them, they come and levy income tax. Yet income tax is supposed to be levied according how you keep your books of accounts. Now, because they find most of these 1 inches don't keep their books of accounts, they begin levying taxes the way they want.
The leader of opposition has promised to present the matter to his cabinet and later on to the parliament to see how the issues can be harmonized. He also adds that the only solution to this is amending the constitution because the government no longer follows the constitution of 1997.
And they are frustrating local governments in collecting local revenue. In fact, indirectly, that even URA is interfering in local revenue collection, where they think that the revenue is easy to collect, then they interfere, yet it's a local revenue. I believe these are the questions my ministers will have to ask and seek for clarification that you are accordingly supported and guided.
In 1992, Uganda adopted decentralization policy that sought to establish systems of governance underpinned by strong local governments.
Smart 24, driving business.
Bulu magic is my joy. Ono bulu magic wange. Ayo Talaba kumabala atukuza nonyirira okirako enyange. Taisa bubi fabriki chona chechiri chigwalwa bulu magic is my choice. Ono bulu magic ye wange. Ange bulu magic is my choice. Hey, ono bulu magic ye wange.
God. Zizinga, wait. Yeah? Ka selfie.
Wow. Do you have the MyGo TV app? Oh, do you use star 206 hash? Labono. But life techina kunyumira. With the MyGo TV app over star 206 hash, you can make payments, you can change package, you can fix errors, you can check your balance anytime, anywhere.
Download the MyGo TV app from Google Play Store or the App Store or dial star 206 hash.
Ha! My phone!
Go TV Uganda. Love it.
Music is fuel that fires up our souls. Today, African music has a dominant place on the world map. This massive music movement creating waves across the globe.
I have seen the evolution and the growth of this industry.
But every movement starts with a story, and the best place to start any story is at the very beginning.
It's a primordial energy that can only have come from Africa.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals. Out of this world celebration.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Gold TV. Love it.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumirwa omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kw'otadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya TV channels ku ssimu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kukozesa data.
TV channels. Smart 24, driving business.
These local council mayors might be having a point somehow, somewhere, because if the money collected at the local council level and comes back to the central government, and it goes back when it is not enough, sometimes it cannot sustain the development plans at the ground level there. So I think it's a point to reckon on. Getting to another story here where we're going to speak the employment opportunities in Uganda, where the employment opportunities are not enough, and this has forced most of the Ugandan youth to go to the Arab countries to see how they can make ends meet. Naomi Mutumba did this story, and let's have more of these stories where we have 70% of the Ugandans going abroad, let's say in Arab, let's say in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, looking for green pastures. Let's see more of this story.
According to research from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics and International Labour Organization, Ugandan youth aged between 15 to 29 years face several hurdles in the labour market. In the last 6 years, Saudi Arabia has been the destination of choice for many Ugandans searching for employment, with the country taking at least 75.2% of total migrant workers in the Middle East. Due to preparations for the World Cup, Qatar suspended migrant workers, which has affected many in the pipeline to work in Qatar.
Information has been circulating, especially on social media, that Qatar has suspended issuing job orders until the Ugandan government clears their position on charging the $30. So we are yet to know, because these are things that at nation level, the government of Uganda is trying to talk with the embassies in these countries and maybe harmonize their position. It is true right now the job categories that involve these other jobs totally almost not there, because we used to get jobs from Dubai, we used to get jobs from Qatar, we used to get jobs even of other categories from Saudi Arabia, but of late, there are very few. Very, very, very few. And I think
Qatar
has been preparing for the World Cup, right? You know, there were the serious countries that needed this kind of labor went in faster and had gotten more contracts to supply labor. So you find that by the time countries like Uganda woke up to realize there were some labor opportunities there, it was late.
Earlier last year, through the Ministry of Gender, government declared a $30 fee paid by labor export companies. This has affected the domestic workers since this can only accommodate a few, yet they remit $1.5 billion that need to cover both the employer and the company.
Recently, last year, August, they revised the law that regulates us and the entire sector. So in that law, there is a provision where any job order that, comes in from abroad must be approved by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs through their embassies. And also, on top of that, any numbers in the job orders must be paid up by $30.
The $30, actually, this is related to the job orders I've just mentioned, which one has to pay per head in Saudi. You have to pay this money, then you put in your job order. You need 100 laborers from Uganda, or 500. You have to pay $30 per head. Actually, these taxes are cut before even the workers are supplied. You can imagine. So many Arabs are demanding Uganda the taxes they paid before even the laborers were deployed. However, on our side as workers, we are also questioning government over this money because systems are not in place to ease work, to ease our work, to ease our monitoring, to ease our supervision. We are not facilitated. There is no single budget from government to monitor these migrant workers all over. And yet we are second in remittance. We remit close to $1.5 billion to this country.
In 2015, Saudi Arabia and Uganda signed a deal that could have provided as many as 2 million jobs for Ugandans in the oil-rich Gulf nation, according to the Gulf Africa Review. But the deal was terminated after the Ugandan parliament banned the transit of migrant workers.
The employment opportunities in Uganda are very low, and this has forced very many of the Ugandan youth to go to Arab countries. There's nothing to do, not until our country or our leaders here find means of improving our employment opportunities. That can bring this level of going outside a little bit low. Let's come to another story here where we think the Ugandan traders from southern Sudan have been given a grant from the Minister of Microfinance and Enterprises to see how they're going to revamp their businesses. And our reporter was there, interfaced with some of these traders, and she has the report for us. Let's have a look at this.
South Sudan was a promised land, the virgin market overflowing with business opportunities and well-paying jobs in the international organizations. And the evidence suggests there is a truth to it. But a surge befell the nation when a civil war broke out from 2013 to 2015, which destroyed several lives and businesses. There has been tension and fear amongst the Ugandan business community. The Minister for East African Affairs, Right Honorable Rebecca Itwala Kadaga, has directed Minister Haruna Kasolo to address the issues of the traders before the cabinet.
Go and see what we can do about raising some funds for you, but I know that we have got my minister here, who I'm now directing. I'm directing you. Support these people through whatever channel you can, because they do many things, and I'm sure that you can find somewhere where they fall. So assist them on that, but also to come to cabinet with the other issue, so that we can discuss it formally and conclude it and resolve it.
The Microfinance and Small Enterprises State Minister Haruna Kasolo has outlined the major intention of the grant towards the traders.
As government and I, the Minister for Microfinance, We can't just let these traders live like the way we found them. That's why through the Microfinance Support Center, we are granting them with 50 million to start, since we are all aware of the losses they made from the South Sudan. And I'm encouraging them to start saving more and more.
Stephen Asimwe, the Executive Director of Private Sector Foundation Uganda, echoed the role of the entity towards helping out the traders and revamping their business careers.
Honorable Minister, is that we discovered that there are 1 million Ugandans who are trading in South Sudan, even now. Now, these are numbers that are hypothetical. What we've agreed with the government of South Sudan is to formally register people so that they are, number one, traceable, number two, they are reachable, number three, we can find mechanism of supporting them. The fact that you are starting a circle means you are going to come with your name, your national ID, open an account, and we can professionally and technically help you work with the banks and create a sustainable system. And that's what we are suggesting, that going forward, PSFU has offered its offices and its mechanism through our established departments of trade. Because they are our members, we are obliged to find a mechanism of support to give them so that they can recover and get back into their former and even current livelihoods to ensure that they grow their businesses.
South Sudan remains one of Uganda's leading export destinations, despite the challenges of the repeated conflicts. Uganda's leading export to South Sudan include cereals, maize, wheat flour, sugar, vegetable oils, beer, soft drinks, iron, steel, cement, and motor vehicle export.
I think this is the best way to go. If other business communities can also get such grants, the businesses in the country will be revamped and will be put to a certain level. And I think what these Ugandan Sudanese did, the Ugandan traders from Southern Sudan did, is better to have the business growth in the country to put it to a certain level. Getting to another story here, we're seeing the Albertine ferry that links the districts of Bulisa and Pakwach being suspended just because of high water levels. And this has made a lot of businesses at that very area stranded. Our reporter, Rona Nahawi, went there, and she has the report for us. Let's have a look at this story.
In July, Uganda National Roads Authority suspended the operations of the Wanseko Panyamo ferry after the water levels at its docking pier at the Wanseko landing site drastically fell and could not allow its effective landing. The ferry bridges towns like Hoima, Chigorobia, Masindi, Biso, Bulisa, Chikube, and Wanseko in the Bunyoro and the Albertine region. Panyamol, Dei, Pakwach, Nebi, and Paida. It also linked Alua in the West Nile and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The former vibrant business town is now currently deserted. However, the suspension of the ferry services has improved boat transportation. Boat transporters in Bulisa and Pakwach have now got the opportunity to transport people that initially used the ferry. The transporters have hiked their transport fares, charging passengers exorbitantly. Currently, passengers have to incur 10,000 shillings to 20,000 shillings in transport costs to move from the Wanseko landing site to their destination. Initially, when the ferry was operational, one would only incur 5,000 shillings. Fred Lukumu, the Bulisa LC5 chairperson, says as a local government, they have lost over 1 billion shillings in the local revenue. This follows the suspension of the ferry services from June 2020. Nora Bijirwa, the Bulisa woman member of parliament, has called on the residents and passengers to be calm as Uganda National Roads Authority fixes the problem.
Our ferry has been one of the transport means to cross over the other side of Panyamur, was affected. There was no way the ferry could dock at the shores because of the water bodies. Yes, at one level the water subsided. Government tried to make sure that at least the ferry system is instated, but still now we cannot be able to do that. I want to tell the people of Bulisa and the neighboring districts that this is a temporary situation. Water transport looks like any other means of transport that will just devise ways and means of crossing over. Government, through UNRWA, is making sure that they bring materials to be able to make the ferry to be able to cross over the other side. Because what's happening is that they are trying to ferry stones from Upper Bulisa, that's Kihongi and the rest of the sub-counties, Upper Bulisa, to fill the route that was originally a way for the ferry for proper docking. So let's allow government time, UNRWA and Ministry of Works, to ensure that a lot of work is done, and appropriate work indeed, that we can be able to reinstate the operation of the ferry. I know how hard it is for our businessmen and women, especially the fishers, to be able to transport goods to the other side, and even normal transport. I mean, I'm coming from Wanseka, I want to cross over the other side. The easiest way is to cross over the ferry because it takes a short time. But we have to be patient because government is not just seated, it is doing its best to reinstate the ferry transport. And I believe that in the shortest time possible, we shall be able to move again on the waters.
The RDC added, saying the dock is under maintenance, which is unavoidable.
Ferry is affecting business, especially between the two districts of Bulisa and Panyamur, that is Pakwach district. You know, there is a mechanism that for every locomotive thing, like if this is vehicle, if you drive it for 5,000 kilometers, it is supposed to be serviced. So it's not that it is intended to fail the operations of the ferry, but a ferry is a heavy locomotive that requires servicing, and when they are servicing it, it takes a long time. So I know people of Bulisa and Pakwach and even beyond, they are affected so much because of because it's not operating.
Uganda National Roads Authority officials have pitched camp at the Wanseko landing site, constructing a new docking pier for the ferry. An official from Uganda National Roads Authority spoke to Smart 24 TV on condition of anonymity and said repairing a new docking pier will last more than 3 weeks and beyond.
Sometimes when water levels goes higher, it makes the transport means very difficult. So if you're crossing from Bulisa to Pakwach districts, it will be very hard. And most of the business people who keep crossing to each district will find it very hard, which will strand most of the businesses there, putting the business processes down. And this will affect even the tax collection in this very country. Let's get to another story here where the government is going to start registering new national IDs, whereby the national IDs that we are having right now are going to expire in 2024. According to the Minister of Internal Affairs, that's Kahinda Otafiri, says that this registration is going to be free of charge. Unless if you lost your ID, you're going to be charged 200,000. However, the Parliamentary Committee on Defense says this money is too much for people, let's say people from the grassroots. They cannot manage to get that amount of money. I did this story, and let's have more of the details from the Parliament.
Comprehensive budget preparation and procurement. We passed a budget where you did not have the support budget for this exercise.
The National Identification and Registration Authority will start a new round of the National Identity Card registration exercise for all Ugandans starting from June 2023 to August 2024, as the current national IDs are set to expire in 2024. While appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Defense, Kahinda Otafire, the Minister of Internal Affairs, revealed that all Ugandans will get the new national ID free of charge, adding that only those in need of express national IDs can apply via the internet and pay a fee of 50,000.
It's you and I who lose identity cards. For them, they have the identity cards because they don't use them regularly. So those peasants will have their identity cards renewed for free. Same system.
According to a report from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the new national ID will contain several new features which wouldn't necessarily require the change of the current NINI number. The report also indicates that the biodata captured does not change. They shall only improve the variables captured on your national ID.
For the increment of, what is this percentage? From 50 to 200,000. 50 to 200,000. If you think of your person in Kashenshoro there, that peasant.
However, disagreements emerged when the minister says that the people who lost their national IDs would have to pay from 50,000 to 200,000.
From 50,000, it's a lot. You look at the peasants, look at the people that have needs those services, and remember, identity card is needed everywhere. Whether you are going to the bank, to the hospital, everywhere you need an identity card. Look at those unemployed youth that don't have access to income. Where are they going to get 200,000 shillings to replace an identity card?
The minister notes that citizens will not be charged for mistakes on their national ID, especially if it was due to NIRA's negligence.
No, you're not going to be charged for a mistake that is done by NIRA. Because when a registration is generated, the information captured on the form is also captured by the system. So if the system discovers that the mistake was done in-house, you will not be charged. You already is. A national ID is free. We are only saying if you want specialized service like Express, you will have to pay 50,000 and you register yourself on your own computer, you do it online. So all those who can afford to pay and do it online will pay 50,000 to access the system and they will get their national IDs Express. But as for the ordinary people, it will be exactly like it was done before. People will register or change their card for free.
He explained that the current national IDs have a lifespan of 10 years, which is elapsing in 2024. Otafire revealed that in 2024, the country will migrate to improved and user-friendly national IDs due to the improvement in technology and demands of modernity. Those have been the stories that made the headlines in the days of the week. I want to thank you for still sticking to the Smart 24 television. Remember to get us to all our media platforms. That's the social media platforms. That's Smart 24 TV official, Smart 24 TV official, and Instagram, Twitter, and everywhere. That has been the business edition. I want to say bye-bye for now.
Smart 24, driving business.
The taste of Uganda in a new international park.
Shashura resimu y'ikirubuto cyawe mpora mpora yitungira resimu y'ikirubuto cyawe irizuba ahasentenje okutangira ahari 14 na data y'umwaka guna yabusha rero ushashure mpora mpora no shashura umwaka gumwe nizishangum MTN Service Centers numbaduka ga M-Kopa.
Pride is
appreciate everyone tuning in to SuperSport.
Welcome all over the world. It's time for the main event. We've waited a very long time, an age for some. It is delicious, glorious, glorious. Just like.
Are you ready for football's greatest season? Live on SuperSport, only on DSTV.
Music is fuel that fires up our souls. Today, African music has a dominant place on the world map. This massive music movement creating waves across the globe.
I have seen the evolution and the growth of this industry.
But every movement starts with a story. And the best place to start any story is at the very beginning.
There's a primordial energy that can only have come from Africa.
Whether it is Katogo, Chikomando, Rolex Majasa to Nyanya Mbisi. Man, wherever I am, I enjoy Chinayu with your TV channels on my phone.
Enjoy a new world of entertainment with over 80 TV and radio channels, plus movies from wherever you are. Download the Yo TV Channels app from your app store and enjoy 30 days of free streaming with MTN.
Yo TV Channels.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
Smart 24, driving business.
Well, the journey of fighting poverty in Uganda, especially when we begin to grow up, is not an easy one. But one thing I know that government is dedicated to fight poverty in Uganda. Of course, when you talk about poverty, we are talking about institutions that are put in place to help us prepare for our retirement. It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. My name is Fred Makuvia, and definitely our vision is to drive your business. I will be speaking on matters regarding